So last time we met, we looked at section 5.6. Okay, 5.6 was on solving absolute value equations. Okay. This section is very similar. Okay, 5.7 is solving absolute value inequalities.
Guys, do people remember what? Does anybody tell me, or by raising their hand, does anybody remember what an inequality is? What is it? Sam, you're raising your hand, or keep clicking your pen. Anybody remember? Say Vaughn.
It's the signs.
Like what signs?
Greater than, less than.
Yeah, like the little Pac-Man symbols, right? That's exactly what we're doing. The only thing is, we're doing an absolute value now. Okay?
Okay, so a lot of what you guys know from yesterday, say 75% of it, that's what you need to know today. Right? With a couple extra things that Mr. Roy said, which we're going to go over. Okay, what was the first thing we did when we solved an absolute value equation? What was the very first thing?
The stuff we did on Tuesday, the stuff you did for homework, what do we have to make sure happened? Who can tell me by raising their hand? What had to happen? Isaiah. The x, or we said figure the absolute value as a variable, right? So you had to get that absolute value by itself, right? Sometimes, who can tell me, sometimes, what does that mean? Or what does that look like? Getting that absolute value by itself. Sometimes, what might you have to do? Who can tell me, sometimes, what might you have to do? Laura, sometimes you have to get that absolute value by itself. What do you have to do? What math operation might you have to do? Chelsea, what do you have to do? Get that absolute value by itself sometimes. You might have to add or subtract, right? Because you had something outside the absolute value on that same side of the sign. So you might have to add or subtract. What if there's a number immediately right to the left of the absolute value? What do you have to do, Savon?
Divide or multiply.
You gotta divide, right? Again, I know, guys, it's the same stuff as what we did on Tuesday, but I just want to make sure you guys understand what you need to do. Okay?
So that's that first step. So copy that right down.
Yeah, just get the absolute value expression by itself on one side of the inequality sign. If you don't want to write, this is similar to what we did in 5.6, you don't have to. All right? You do not have to write that if you don't want to. The biggest thing is get the absolute value expression by itself on one side of the inequality. That's the biggest thing. And if you're not sure on how to get it by itself, again, a lot of people already told me, go back to the notes from 5.6. Okay?
Can you go back?
He's going to go back, guys. Don't worry.
Okay, so I'm going to put an example, and I want to show you one where the absolute value is not by itself. Okay, and Mr. Roy just reminded you of what you got to do, and I want to see if you can remember what he just said. All right, so we're gonna put this right back up. Okay. Is the absolute value expression by itself there? Yeah. Okay, so this one's fine. Okay, what if I had that? How would I get it by itself? Hey, divide each side by 2. Okay, and that would leave me with that. Okay, dividing each side by 2. Any question on that? Okay. We're going to talk about that in the next step. Yep.
Victoria, you're on the right track. We're going to have to do one thing a little bit differently today. There's like one more little step.
Okay, I want you to look at this one. Is the absolute value expression by itself? No. What do I have to do to get it by itself?
Divide by -2.
Say it one more time.
Divide by -2.
Okay. Divide by -2. That's perfect. 2
And
skipped.
guys, what kind of problems are we doing again?
Absolute value.
No. With absolute value with what though? Not equations, but what? Inequalities, right? And Kayla just said we're doing what again? What did Kayla say we were doing? Divided by a -2? Chelsea just said it, right? Flip the sign. Just like we did back when we did this, when we were just doing solving inequalities, right? Now we're just adding the absolute value, but the same rules apply. If you divide by a negative, Ryan, what do you do? If you divide by a negative with an inequality, what do you do to the sign? No. Somebody help out Ryan. Ben, what do you do? If you divide by a negative with an inequality, what do you do? Look at this. Look what Mr. Hager did. Look from there to there, right?
Yep.
What did he do?
Right now.
Yeah. Look at that and that. What happened? He flipped the sign, right? Victoria, you're going to say that too, right? Flip the sign. The same rules apply. If you divide by a negative, you must flip the sign. Guys, see what Mr. Hager has up there highlighted? Look almost like 3/4 of the way down your page, where it says, remember the rules for graphing. Do you see that? You see it, Dominic? What's it say below that? Can you read it for me?
You still flip the sign if you multiply or divide by negative.
So that's what Mr. Hager has written right there. All right? You can write it down if you want, if it's going to help you to remember, but it's already typed in on the page. But if you feel more comfortable, you want to write it down, that's perfectly fine. But it's already typed on the page for you too.
What do you think happens if you forget to flip the sign and you divide by a negative?
It's wrong.
It's wrong. You get exactly the opposite. You get the wrong answer. Yep. Okay. All right, so that's one step that's a little different. You didn't have to worry about that on Monday because you always had an equal sign. Okay, this is a little different. So that's an important step. Make sure you have that somewhere. Okay, now Victoria already gave us part of our second step. She said, don't we split it? Yeah, we're going to split it very similar to what we did on Monday. Okay, we're going to eliminate the absolute value bars. I'll make that bigger so you guys can see it. Okay, you're going to eliminate the absolute value bars by splitting it into two. Okay, so when we split it into two, first thing that's going to happen is the bars go away.
I was working with somebody earlier, guys, in learning support, and I said, all you have is the bars left, right? There's nobody else around, no one's looking. It's time to break out of jail. All right, it's time to get out of there. It's time to split. Time to split. Split it up and get out of there. It is illegal, but nobody else is around, so don't get caught.
So it's
Just kidding.
legal unless people pay.
Okay, Isaiah, I'm kidding.
All right, so when you split it up, okay, you're not going to have any bars. Anybody have a thought what our first inequality is going to be? Think about what we did
Monday.
Monday.
On Monday, on Tuesday.
It's what? Go ahead, say what you just said. Yeah, except today it's an inequality. So you write down the original inequality,
Yep.
just with no bars. Okay? Write the original inequality with
You
no
guys have
bars.
that on your notes.
Do they have the other one too, Mr. Ray, right here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then the second one, think about what we did Monday. We made the number on the other side negative. But with an inequality, if you make a number negative, what automatically goes with that? You got to flip the sign. Okay, so this is an extra step you didn't have Monday. Make the number on the other side negative, and we have to flip the sign. Okay, we're going to go through four
So
examples.
the only other thing you're adding is still making the number after the sign negative. The only real new thing is you're just flipping the arrow. Make the arrow point in the opposite direction. It's the only new thing we're doing in terms of solving.
Okay, now, when we got our answers on Monday, okay, we had something like this. X equals 2, X equals, just make something up, 8. What else was between them? Or. Did we ever use any other word besides that on Monday? No, we didn't use anything else. It was always or. Today we have a choice. There's two possibilities. It could be or. What do you think the other choice is? And. Right? So we're going to teach you how you can figure out.
You guys, we talked about those things as conjunctions, disjunctions. You don't have to know what it is. Just know if you see this type of sign in the original problem, it's going to become this. And we're going to talk about that right now.
Okay, so in the original problem, okay, the very first thing that's written on the paper, before you even do anything to it. If the original sign is a less than or equal to, that's an and. Okay, your final answers in the end are going to be connected with the word and.
So what's the end?
I'm going to give you a hint on how to remember that. Now, if your original signs are a greater than or equal to, what do you think the other possibility is? Or. And it's kind of hard to remember. Less than is and, greater. You know, it's not too hard, but here's a trick. Less than is and. Land. Okay, so if you can remember the word land, less than is and. Okay. Greater than, if you spell it like that, land and gore. Okay, if you remember those two words, less than is and, land. Greater than is or, gore.
Or less, think of it as less than, great or.
Hey, does that trick help people? Thinking of the word land?
Less than, all right, guys, you're gonna have this sheet, if you need to look back at the sheet and say, I got this kind of a sign, this is what's gonna be, that's fine. I'm just trying to give you another hint, another way to think about it.
Okay, so those are the three big steps. Get the absolute value alone, split it into two problems, and don't forget your word at the end. And could also be or.
Guys, Mr. Hager and I also put on there, remember the rules for graphing ands and ors. What was the word when we did our notes right before, I know it was a little while ago when we did these inequalities, but when we talked about ands, what was the word we used if we were graphing an and? You guys remember? Anybody remember what we called it? We said that we were what? You're on the right track. You said, wait, Dominic.
Or wasn't that or?
Or, good catch, right? Ors were greedy. What do we mean by greedy? We want to graph what? Graph everything. If we're talking about ands, we're what? Greedy was for ors. What about ands? Snobby, right? We only graph what, Elijah? Do you remember?
Half of it?
We only graph the overlap. Again, you guys have this stuff in your notes. If you need to go back, I forget what, I think it was the beginning of, what was it, beginning of chapter 5, Mr. Hager?
Yeah.
I think it was chapter 5 for that
5.3,
stuff.
5.4.
Remember we had the 3 boxes in the different situations, they go this way, it's no solution, that kind of stuff. If you need to go back and look at that, that's fine, okay? But we only put, I think there's only 3 on the take-home tonight that you have to do, 3 or 4, I think there's 4.
So what
Right.
kind of problems are going to be on the take home?
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
after.
one second.
All right.
But good question, I think.
All right, so just looking at this first problem, before I even start to solve it, is this going to be an and or an or? Or. Great or. Remember? Great or. Great or. Gore. Okay, so this is going to be an or problem. So when we're done, we're probably going to have arrows that look something like this on a number line. Okay, it's going to be pointing in opposite directions. Okay. All right, but let's go through it and see what happens. Okay, who can tell me what's my first step? I got to check, take a look at that and check for what? Isaiah? Let's scroll back up. Did we write check for negatives?
I'm just going to do it.
You got to check and make sure that what? Victoria? Yeah. Step 1, make sure the absolute value is by itself. If it already is, you're done. You don't have to do step 1. Okay? Is the absolute value by itself there? Yeah. Okay, so step 1 is good. Who can tell me what step 2 is now? There's nobody else around. So what do we do now?
We just take away the bars on it.
Okay, yeah, we're going to split it up. That's going to take away the bars. Right. Anybody think they can give me one of the inequalities this is going to split into? Okay, just give me one. Ryan?
5 minus 3. Or greater than negative 9.
Greater than or equal?
Or equal to negative 9.
let's start with the easy one first, then we'll do the hard one. So give me the easy one first. You don't have to do much to it except take away the bars. Just 9. Okay, so the first one is the same as the original. Just take those bars away. Okay. Now the second one. Second one's a little harder. Anyone think they can give me the second one? There's 2 things you got to remember to do. Okay, we've already taken the bars away, but what's the other 2 things? Tell me what you got.
Or, and then,
Okay, we'll put our word in there in a minute. That's also a third thing. We'll do that. What's the inequality?
5 minus 3x is greater than or equal to.
You gotta flip that.
less than
Yeah, flip the sign
or negative 9.
and make it negative. See the 2 things she just did? She flipped the sign and she made the number negative. And she told us something else that was good. What word did you say to put in the middle? Or. Okay, if you forget that, that changes the entire problem here. It can change whether you're shading between or in opposite directions. So then you could go from like full credit to half credit just with one word. So that word's important. Okay, now from here, we're just going to solve it like we normally would. Follow all our rules that we normally do. Okay, Tyler, what do I move to the other side here first? The 5 or the negative 3?
5.
Yep, the 5. How do you do it?
Subtract 5.
Good. Subtract 5. Yep. What does that leave me with over here?
Negative 3x.
Good. Negative 3x. Well, I should have asked you, do I flip the sign here?
No.
No. Perfect. You never flip the sign when you subtract. We're not there yet. Can you go ahead and tell me what's 9 minus 5?
4.
4. Good job. Okay, 1 step left. Give me my last step. Marcus?
You divide by negative 3.
Yeah, can you just say it one more time?
Divide by negative 3.
Divide by negative 3. So you go ahead, tell me everything that's going to happen there.
Then you're going to switch the sign.
Okay, go ahead and tell me what I get.
So,
Yep, you can start with X. That's a good start.
flip the sign, and then
What's it called? What is that sign when you flip it?
less than
Less than
2,
or equal to?
and then it would be 4 over negative 3.
Yeah, you can leave the negative in the bottom or the top. It doesn't matter. I generally just put it in the top. Okay, and that's one answer. Or, and now we're going to do the same thing. Okay, what's nice about splitting it up, the steps you just did here, it's the same steps again. It's going to be the minus 5 and the divide by negative 3. Okay, so let's start with that. Yeah, Victoria, go ahead.
Do minus 5.
Minus 5. Okay, 5 minus 5, that's
Bring down the negative 3.
anything else you want to bring with it?
X.
The X?
Less than
Yeah,
or equal to.
good. Nothing's going to change with subtraction. That's good. Now be careful here. What's negative 9 minus 5? Remember, it's like you're adding them and you
I like your negative though.
keep the sign. Add them, but keep the negative sign. Negative 14. All right, what's my last step? Oh, you want to go again? Go ahead. Go ahead, divide by what?
Negative 3.
Yep. All right, so you're good. Let's let somebody else jump in. Somebody else tell me, Isaiah.
Flip the sign.
Okay, good. You divide by a negative. First thing we want to do is flip that sign. Now, somebody tell me what's on the left. Ben? X, good. Okay, what's on the right? How about Brian? Think about what's going to happen there. Negative in the top, negative in the bottom. Good. It's going to be a positive. Okay? You don't have to do this out. We'll just leave it. If I need a decimal, I'll use a calculator in a second to get a decimal when I graph it. Okay, I do need a decimal to graph it. But that's good for that part. Okay, any question up on that? Okay, so that's the hard part. Now the easy part is we're going to graph it. Okay, let me make my number line. Did you guys have the number line on your paper? Yep. Okay, so just fill in. Okay, let's figure out what negative 4 over 3 is. So we figure out where we put our circle. So there's negative 4 divided by 3, negative 1.3. I have two choices for the circle. What are the two types?
Over there, or
Good, yep, the filled in or the,
closed.
well, filled in and closed is the same thing.
Open.
Open, yeah, not filled in, good. What kind of circle do you need here?
Closed.
Closed. On what number?
Negative 4.
Negative 4 over 3, yeah, which is negative 1, and then a little bit more. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, just put it in the right area. All right. And now, I'm going to need one more circle. I don't know where it's going to go yet, but can anybody just tell me the type?
It's gonna be close. Can I guess the word? I'm trying to guess it.
Okay, where do you think 14/3 is?
I think it's gonna be at like 3.1 something.
Well, 3 goes into 14 at least 4 times,
Oh,
right?
4 point something.
Yes, it's going to be a little bit more than 4. Yeah,
Good so long.
but that's good to try to reason it through. So it's a little more than 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. And what kind of circle?
Open. I'm in close.
Closed. Okay, so right about there. And now this was an or. So does that mean I'm going to shade the overlap between? Or do I shade in opposite directions? Yeah, you can also look from the negative 4/3, this is pointing left. So you shade,
Guys, how
Right
does
points.
Mr. Hager know that's going left? Yeah, like Kayla just said, look at the inequality sign, right? That's your hint to tell you which way it goes.
how about 14/3? Which way does that one go? To the right. Okay, just like Mr. Rice said, you're shading everything. Okay? It's like the greedy one, right? It's or.
They go in opposite directions for an or, that's perfectly fine.
Okay? And that's it. They don't really get, too much harder. If you can do that, that's like 95% of what we're doing. Okay, any questions on that one? Mr. Roy, they have the 3 more, right? Yeah. Okay.
Now, guys, this one, right, 1B on the back side, Joey, how's that different? Obviously, the numbers and the signs and stuff like that are different, but as far as the setup of the problem, how is that different from the first one you did?
Has something on the other side.
Has something outside the absolute value, right, Joe? So, what would Mr. Hager do here to get that absolute value by itself?
Divide.
Divide by what number? 3, good. Right? Because think of it, right? It's like, think of it, if it was like 3x is greater than 21, you would divide by 3 to get the x by itself. If you need to, think of that absolute value as a variable.
Okay. Any question on that step? That's the only step that was different from the last problem. Everything else is going to be the same. Okay? It's the absolute value by itself.
Yeah.
Yep. So now what are we ready to do?
Divide.
We're ready to break out, right?
Break it up.
Okay. Who can give me one of my equations? Dominic, can you give me one of them?
Bars, or no bars, x minus 5, greater than 7.
Good. Okay, so that's the easy one. Just copy it down, take away the bars. Now the harder one, you got to remember to do 2 things. About William, do you remember what to do?
X minus 5 is less than -7.
Perfect. X minus 5 is less than -7. That's it. Okay, one more thing. Well, who said or? Yeah, Brian, good job. Or. Nice. Okay, remember that one word, that changes the whole graph. So you got to get the word right. If you don't, you lose half the points right on that one word. Okay? All right. Next up, Austin. How do I solve this one? What do I do?
Add 5
Add 5? Where else?
to the 7.
To the 7? And what does that give me?
That'd be just x is greater
Yep,
than 12.
then 12. Okay. What am I going to put down right here, just so I don't forget it?
4.
Yeah, let's write or again. Let's put it right away so we don't forget it. X is greater than 12. Okay, next one. Who can tell me, what do I do here? How do I get X by itself here? Victoria? You add 5. It's exactly the same thing you did on the other one. Just add 5. Negative 5 cancels. Do I flip the sign? No. Why not?
Because you're not dividing.
Yeah, I'm not dividing by a negative. I'm not multiplying by a negative. I'm adding 5. Okay, what's negative 7 plus 5? Careful. Negative 2. Okay, what kind of circles are we going to use for both of these?
Open.
Yep, we're going to use open circles. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number my number line by 2s. Okay, so I don't run out of space. Okay, if you want to number by 2s, that's fine. Okay, what kind of circle? Somebody just said it. Open. Let's put an open circle on both. Okay, from negative 2, it tells me which way to shade. Which way?
To the right.
On negative 2?
To the left.
It's pointing to the left, right? Good. Okay, how about from the 12? Which way is the inequality telling me to shade?
To the right.
To the right. Okay, it's just like Mr. Roy said, this is another OR problem. Greedy, right? You're shading everything. Okay, any questions on that one? Okay, so we looked at the OR with the closed circles. We had OR with open circles. Yep, now let's start to look at the ands. Okay, even if I didn't say that, what tells you this problem is an and not an or? How can you look at that, not do anything? Spencer. The sign is a less than.
We're looking at guys, look at the sign in the original.
Right there.
In the original inequality. Now, Mr. Hager, I mean, this situation might not happen, but what if in that original equation, or that original inequality, they had to divide by a negative? Would they flip the sign and use that as their original sign?
We'd still, yeah, you know what we'd do? Yeah, you'd flip the sign.
Okay.
And then
They would look at that, the sign, the new sign that they got?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys will get that situation, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, that would be one that if I put it on the test, that'd be a little bit of a curveball. That'd be a little tricky. So we're not gonna do
If you
that.
came across that today on like the practice stuff for the test.
All right. So now let's see. First thing I want to do, are we ready to split, or we gotta do some work first? We're ready to split. Okay. How about somebody who hasn't said much today? About Sam. What's my first inequality going to be?
2W minus 1
2w minus 1 is
is less than 11.
less than 11. Good. Okay. What word is going to go here? And. And, because of that sign.
That's what, Victoria, that's what Spencer was saying earlier. Look at the original sign, right? Remember that's what we talked about earlier?
Okay. So remember, if it's a less than, it's an and.
It's a less than.
Okay. So we got our first inequality. We got our and. Who can give me my second one? It's the same as you do with an or. Laura?
2w minus 1 is greater than negative 11.
Good. She flipped the sign, and she made the number negative. Okay. All right. Anybody think they could tell me all the steps to solve this one on the left? There's only 2. Ryan, can you give me one? Add 1. Add 1. Negative 1 plus 1 cancels. Do I flip the sign when I add 1? No. 11 plus 1?
And then divide by
12. Yep, and then divide by 2. Okay. Now we got to be careful. We're dividing. Do I flip the sign?
No.
No, I didn't divide by a negative. Good.
6.
So W is less than 6. Okay. What should I put down right here so I don't forget?
Well, and.
And. Okay. Now do the same steps you did on this one. Plus 1, plus 1. Okay, so you get 2W. Okay, be careful. What's negative 11 plus 1? Yep. Good, negative 10. And now divide by 2 on each side, just like we did before. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Same question. Do I flip it?
Yeah.
Did I divide by a negative?
No.
No. So W is greater than negative 5.
You're dividing by a negative right now.
No, you're dividing by a positive with 2W.
Yep,
Only
we
if
divided
it's
by
negative
positive
2W.
2.
It's only if you're dividing like by a negative in front of the W, like negative 2, then you have to switch the sign again.
Okay, what kind of circles do I need?
Oh, open.
Both open, both, or one of,
Open.
One each.
both open. Greater than is open, less than is open. Okay, let's number our number lines. Let's go 5.
Mr. Hager,
Yeah,
if on the test or whatever, I forget if the number lines actually have the numbers on the test, but if they didn't, if people just put like a -5 and a 6 on a number line in the right spot and graph that way, would that be okay?
yeah, they're all on the test, but
Okay.
yes.
I'm just saying, guys, I mean, what I'm saying, guys, is rather than, if you did get a blank one, and you did it like this, rather than writing every single number, you could just do -5 and 6.
Yep, that's okay.
As long as it's in the right area on the number line, we wouldn't want -5 over here and 6 over there. Let's make sure they're in the right spot.
Okay, but on the test, I'm going to make sure I give you guys number lines that are all filled out. Okay, you're not going to have to fill them in. Okay, so open circle on 6. Open circle on -5. Now, which way are we shading from 6?
Like, to the left.
It's pointing to the left. Okay, we're going this way. Which way are we shading from -5?
To the right.
We're going to the right.
Why did you change the sign?
So,
You're not dividing.
what are we graphing here? Are we going between, or are we going in opposite directions? Are we going between, or are we going opposite directions?
We're going,
Oh my God. That's the question.
yeah, and I'm in.
Won't make me move.
Okay, so if you think you know the answer, raise your hand.
No, she's not.
Okay, Isaiah, you know the answer?
No, I'm trying to figure out why one is facing out and one's facing in.
Look at the 6. Look at the 6, right?
Yeah.
Which way does it say to go from the 6? Which way is that pointing? So from the 6,
Got it.
left. From the -5, which way is this one pointing?
To the right.
So from the
I don't
negative.
get why he's pointing to the right.
Oh, I know what to do.
So he's trying to say like for the question.
Okay, let me explain why it's pointing to the right. See this symbol right here?
Guys, listen,
I know what I know what you said.
What are the 2 key steps when you write the second? What are the 2 key steps when you write the second inequality? You make the number negative, but what do you have to do with this sign?
Oh!
Flip it.
You weren't explaining it at all.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
You got it?
Shut up.
Yeah, could you just shut up because you weren't explaining it?
Okay, so guys,
guys, come back, come on.
back to my question.
I'm glad you're excited about it, though.
Am I shading between, or am I shading in opposite directions? Between.
Come on.
I said between.
I was like,
That's what
I
I'm saying.
Okay,
That's what I was saying.
between.
Hey, we got some people excited
They're
about
excited.
graphing, absolute value inequalities. We got like fights going on over
got
here.
Now, why did I go between? What was the word that told me to go between? And. What would it have been if it was opposite directions? Or.
You guys, on this one, rather than listen to me and Mr. Hager blab on, what I want you to do is get the absolute value on your own, on your notes, Brian, on your own, in your notes, get the absolute value by itself. If you're not sure, if you want Mr. Hager and I to check, we'll be more than happy to come around.
Let me give you guys a hint. Okay, here's a hint. If you know how to solve this equation right here, if you can solve something like that, you can solve something like this. Okay? These two are very, very similar. Okay, does everyone see that? 2 times something minus 13, and then negative 5 on the other side. 2 times something minus 13, negative 5 on the other side. These are almost the same thing. Okay? What would be your first step if you were trying to get x by itself here? Tell me what you'd do. Yeah, Marcus?
Once you minus 13 first.
Well, we have a minus 13, so how do you undo minus?
Plus 13.
Plus.
My bad.
Okay? So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Plus 13. Plus 13. Okay? I saw some people tried to start splitting it up right away. Okay, but like Mr. Ray said, there's people around, they're watching. Okay, you got somebody on each side of you. You can't split it up until you get rid of all those other people, all those other numbers on the outside. Okay? What's negative 13 plus 13? Cancels out. Okay, on the left-hand side, you still got the 2. Okay? We're going to deal with that in a second. What's negative 5 plus 13? 8.
Divide by 2.
Okay, then what do we do? Divide by 2. Okay, yeah, we're going over it right now.
Then, oh yeah, then I divide by 2. Divide by 2.
So somebody just told me, what's my next step? Can I divide by 2?
You guys, I know people like, it's good because you guys are talking about the problem, but it's just hard for Mr. Hager and I to hear through people that, and it's good that you guys are trying to figure it out, and you're talking about it, because we haven't, that's good, but it's hard to hear, that's all right?
Okay, you guys are going to have like the next 25 minutes after this to talk and figure stuff out. Okay? Any flipping here that has to happen with the sign?
Not yet.
Not yet, because all we did was divide by a positive 2. Okay, we still have got this on the left. What's on the right now? 4. Okay.
How did I mess up?
What are we ready to do now?
Split.
Ready to
Think
split.
about the other equation.
Okay.
What other one?
Who can give me one of the 2 that it's going to split into? Ben. Yeah, go ahead.
3W plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 4.
Say it one more time. Hold on. Say the whole thing one more time, Ben.
No, I know I did that.
Okay, guys, I can't hear Ben.
3W plus 8 is less than or equal
Keep going.
to negative.
Not negative 4.
Doesn't it split up?
Yeah.
Well, since you said less than or equal, you're using the original.
Positive.
Positive 4. Okay. Now, what word should we put here? And? Or do we put or? And. Okay. Isaiah, you're going to help me get the second inequality. What's my second one?
3W plus 8 less than or equal to negative 4.
There's 2 things that need to be done.
Greater than or equal to.
Yeah.
Who said 12? It wasn't even close.
Okay.
Think about the
Subtract
First thing you need to do when you get that second inequality, you're going to flip the sign and make the number negative. You got to do both. Okay?
Ben, you would have been okay if I know some people, I worked with them today, some people put the negative first and that's okay, but you didn't flip the sign. All right?
Okay, who can help me out? What are my last 2 steps to solve each of these? Savon?
subtract 8 to each side.
Subtract 8. Okay. I'm going to get 3W is less than or equal to, what's 4 minus 8?
-4.
Negative 4. Okay, my last step. Divide by what? 3. Divide by 3. Okay, so we get W is less than or equal to negative 4/3. Okay, what word? Don't forget the word. And. Okay, how do I solve this one? First step. Matt? Subtract 8. That's going to give me 3W. What's negative 4? Take away 8. Negative 12. Okay, Kayla, what's my next step? Okay, so we subtracted 8 from both sides. Now my last step is to do what? Divide by 3. Do I flip the inequality?
No.
Okay, what do I get on the other side? Negative 4. Okay, so let's number our number line. Thanks for that. I don't think we're going to need too many of the positives because this time both numbers are negative. What kind of circle on negative 4? Closed. Does anybody remember what negative 4 divided by 3 was? We had that number earlier. Negative 1.3. Okay. And now from the negative 4, which way are we shading?
Right.
We're going to the right. So we're shading this way. How about from the negative 4/3, which way are we shading? Left. So is this one between or in opposite directions?
Opposite direction.
No, there's a
Between
direction.
or opposite directions? Between. Okay, it's between. Okay, any questions on that? All right. So for tonight, okay, guys, for tonight, we're going to give you a take-home test on 5, 6, and 5, 7, but we're going to give you a worksheet in class to do a little bit of practice first.